Good evening and welcome to the I've Talked Back Sports Show. My name is Kay and I'm joined with my co-host Jamal Bunner. Jamal, say hi to the people.
Hi to the people.
All right. Jamal, do you have any shout outs?
Good evening, Kay. Yes, I would love to give a shout out to Lucky Whitehead, who unfortunately this evening is nursing an injury of a broken foot shortly after debuting during the preseason with the New York Jets. It's really unfortunate so far this year for Lucky, and with the being cut by the Cowboys, the incident with his dog, and now a broken foot. I hope that he gets better and things turn around for Lucky. Kay, what about you? You have a shout out tonight.
Well, I just want to give a shout out to all the peacekeepers and the light workers and the lovers who aren't fighters. I know you're far and few in between, but today I celebrate you. Okay, guys, and also someone says let's go Giants. Is that John Alexander? Okay, so he's highly inflammatory at this minute. Thank you so much for listening, John. But this is not that kind of show.
Do we acknowledge people like this? Why are we giving this person time?
Oh, because he's my buddy.
Okay.
And also, Audra Barr, thank you so much for joining in. If you guys have any questions or want to call us on Skype or want to join us on Facebook Live, you're more than welcome to. We're going to talk about some very sensitive issues today, potentially, but we definitely would like to have everyone's feedback. All right. So the NBA released its schedule, Jamal. Have you had the opportunity to look over the schedule for 2017-2018?
Okay, I've had an opportunity to look over some of the schedule for the NBA, and I am quite happy with the ability of the NBA to do a little bit of, shall we say, counter programming in terms of, interrupting a little bit of the NFL preseason to make a couple of headlines. I like it. It's an old NFL tactic, it seems. But I am definitely looking forward to the fact that there has been a cut down on the number of back-to-back games, that they did protect the Saturday evening games that were a haven for resting players because it was scheduled on them back-to-back or in the middle of a back-to-back. So those are gone, and it's going to be the Warriors. So, I mean, other than that, I'm really not that excited about the upcoming season, other than to see that hopefully my team doesn't make it back to the lottery. So, beyond that, Kay, I'm kind of just waiting for June again, like everybody else, see when the Warriors, who they play. What about you? What'd you think?
Well, I'm glad that they did kind of space it out a little bit more as much as they could. When the schedule first comes out, of course, I look at my team. I look at key matchups. I definitely will be. Well, no, that's a lie. But I'm going to try to make it to the Oklahoma game. In November. It looks like we have a lot of kind of tough games early, so that's interesting. So, of course, this NBA, they have the debut of Lonzo Ball on October 19th. That's going to be exciting.
Yes.
We have Golden State and San Antonio, which is always good when everyone's playing.
Woo, yes.
In November. And for Christmas, so we have the Cavs and Golden State Warriors. Yay!
Yay! Not yay, yay. And
no.
Yes. And I'm very... It's intriguing, though, for me because the season, and I just remembered, it's starting October 17th, which is what? Like week... It's a little earlier. Which is that, like week 8 of the NFL season? So, yeah. I'm very excited that I get to turn over to basketball and get started. I mean, keep an eye on basketball during football season.
We all know you're a basketball fan, and it's okay.
I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm really
All
trying.
right, so since we're talking about the news around the leagues, let's get into something that we didn't get to talk about last week because it was just, brought to us or presented to us on Friday,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the suspension of your running back, Ezekiel Elliott.
Why is he my
So,
running back?
um,
He's
because I warned you about this. So, anyway, what do you think about everything? Just give me your overall thoughts.
from afar. It's a problematic case on both sides, and I feel that the what has been leaked last year in terms of the alleged victim versus what we have been, I guess, reported to by the league. It's it's hard, and I'm not sure that this was really the item that the league should have chosen to have tried to suspend him on. I really and truly feel that it's there's a case to be made for, and it's sitting there that there is a question of her believability, shall we say, and at the same time, there is evidence strong enough that the NFL put this suspension on him. So there's the possibility that there are things he did do, and then there are things he didn't do that she accused him of. And for me, if the NFL wanted to make a statement, if they really wanted to suspend Ezekiel, they had two other items that they could have used against him that they chose not to use. The incident in which he pulled up the lady's shirt, flashing her in the St. Patrick's Day parade, that should have gotten him a suspension. And this incident in terms of the bar, with an investigation around that, far easier to investigate and to say, player conduct unbecoming, even though you're defending someone else, questionable, suspension for that. So you have two other things they could have suspended him for, but they didn't. I think that the choice of the domestic violence, or the alleged domestic violence, it's going to be interesting. And so it's really going to be a he said, she said, and it's really going to be based upon what evidence is out there. At the end of the day, I think Ezekiel gets 3 games. Just based upon the other 2 incidents, I think the NFL lets go of the domestic violence and they say, okay, look, we got you for this. We're suspending you for that. I think that comes out to be a 3-game suspension, but I don't think he serves any of it until the beginning of next year. What about you?
Well, of course, if he put his hands on a woman, he definitely needs to be suspended. I just have a problem with someone saying, okay, you didn't do it, we'll prove it. That's not my job. For the cops there to drop the case, but the NFL to pick it up and do their quote unquote investigation, and the amount of time that it took for them to come back with something, I have a problem with that. I have a problem with the commissioner not being sat in for the meetings where the evidence was brought out. I have a problem with that. Don't send me a report. How about you just be present when you ask me if I did or if I did not do something? That way you can gauge to your intuition and how you feel within yourself whether or not I'm telling the truth. I have a problem with all of these things. The NFL is not a court, and it will never be that. And so I really have a problem with that. I have a problem with the Players Association. I don't feel like they really had a lot of interaction with Zeke until it was time for him to do this appeal. And the reason why is because they want Goodell to not be a part of the appeal process, like he was with the Brady case. So I just think that's the only reason why they just stuck their little nose in and put that crap on their press release. I could have wrote that. Angry Cowboy fan. That's who it sounded like wrote that. Not an actual executive or lawyer. I have a problem with that as well. But it is what it is. As we've said that it was gonna come to this.
Mm-hmm.
And if it wasn't this, with the way that he was going, it definitely would have been something else. Sad to say.
Yeah,
All right.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that this whole ordeal needs to be a wake up call for him and for the organization about, you're going to need to treat Zeke like he did Dez during the early years. You're going to have to put a man on him. And, he's going to need to be helped along a little bit until he matures. And at which point, then, let him do whatever. But he's too valuable to let apparently go roaming wild on his own. And that he's not at the maturity level yet of being able to handle some adult situations outside of football.
Yeah, I guess he's just a what 22-year-old, 23-year-old, and he does what some 23-year-olds do.
Some,
So,
yes, I would
wow,
agree with
that was definitely what I said.
Mm-hmm. Yes, agreed.
So, speaking of athletes, how do you feel about the remarks made by LeBron James?
I I saw more of the backlash about what was said, and that I think affected me more than anything LeBron could have said about our commander in chief. That there seems to be this demand for athletes to quote unquote stay in their lane, and at the same time, we want quotes from them that say more than just, "Oh, I'm just playing ball, just practicing, and just enjoying life." We want more from them than that. And yet, when we do get an activist spirit, when we do get a little more from them other than a, canned answer, that then it's, "Oh, stay in your lane and, don't speak." And it's kind of one of those, athletes are people who grew up in the same neighborhoods as we did, and in some cases worse neighborhoods than we did, and they have seen things that we have seen and things that we haven't seen. And it is a surprise to me when people are ones who feel necessary to try to tell an athlete, an adult, that they can't speak, that they can't have their opinions heard, and that even though I'm not a LeBron James fan, when a man is saying something about a president, and more importantly, hate has always existed in America. That's a fact, and that's what he stated. And it is unfortunate that that in turn, as part of what the quote that he said, that in turn turned into people full of backlash, especially on social media, Twitter, where I roam, saying, "Oh, LeBron, stay in your lane. Oh, LeBron, don't say, whatever." Who are we to say such things? Just don't listen. But, I mean, you know what? I can go on about this. I feel LeBron has the right to say whatever the heck it is that he wants to say. We try to encourage athletes to say more than their canned answers. Speak on whatever it is that you need to speak on, LeBron, or any other athlete. I mean, I like what you say, but speak on it. I want to hear something else other than, "Yeah, we did, team needs to stay together, we need to play together," so forth. Yeah, whatever. Sorry, Kay. What about you? What did you think about it?
Well, I share the same sentiments. As we talk about this a lot, and we talked about this just the other day. LeBron has actually more reach than any other people that's telling him to stay in his lane. You don't really have the right to do that. He's not the type of person that's just going to donate tens of millions of dollars to special causes and then not saying whatever he has to say about whatever it is. I think he was very respectful in what he had to say concerning the issues. And so, you're not a fan of him, I know, as a player, but I know as a man, you do respect him, and I do as well. I mean, I really can't say anything, as far as what I know and what I read about him. He really did sound, he sounded really positive in what he had to say, almost like a politician. I was very convinced, about the things that he had to say. Um, I don't want my athlete to just use his platform to sell shoes and to further his financial agenda. Of course, I would like to know that my athlete is concerned about the things that are concerning me, someone who doesn't make quite as much money as he does. Not yet.
Indeed, indeed. And let me read to you very quickly the tweet that got social media eyebrows raised. Read this. It's sad what's going on in Charlottesville. Is this the direction our country is heading? Make America great again, huh? He said that. That's the quote, the tweet, excuse me, that LeBron sent, and that people in response apparently just, heads blown or something to that effect. And honestly, I'm looking at this, and this is nothing. In fact, this is kind of weak sauce. It's between some of the things that you and I have said, and some of the things we may have heard just about from people on the street.
With being said, would you rather he have a more inflammatory statement like your wide receiver, Dez, when asked about the demonstrations concerning the flag and the anthem? Would you have rather him made a more inflammatory statement, Jamal?
What I would rather is that if people are going to take comments that are made on Twitter and quote them, that it's understood that it is the full comment that is taken as opposed to a portion of it. Dez was in a series of tweets speaking, or we'll say communicating with fans, and among the items that within conversations, there were, he says in the quote before, it's don't quote me on nothing, y'all asked me about it and I wasn't in the mood to talk about it, not saying I don't care about it. And there was a response to him about shutting up, and his next tweet is, I got a family to feed. And then he goes on to say, bro, it's the wrong place and time talking about that. I care about black people, at the same time I have a family. And within the context of what's being said, I'm trying to understand why the media finds it necessary to actually quote this. This is a social media interaction with fans, and it is...
Well, Jamal, they do it all the time.
I'm not a fan of that. If you put a microphone...
Mm-hmm.
Put a microphone in front of me and say this is on the record. Don't sit there and troll my mentions and then say, oh, well, you said this, so this is you being quoted. That's not always my word.
It's done all the time to further the agenda of not really having anything worth to write about. So it's done all the time.
And it's wrong.
I think that sometimes you can just say no comment, or I don't know, or I hadn't thought about it, come back to me. You can say a number of things besides, I need to feed my family. You know what I'm saying? I don't understand what that means. Just say I don't have anything to say. We all know that Jerry probably has had a conversation with his players, or maybe he sent the puppet to talk to them about protesting. So we all know that this won't happen on the Dallas Cowboys team. Okay. Now, whether he feels strongly about what's happening, I believe he does. Does he want to comment on it? No, he doesn't. Does he want to have the scrutiny that he just got out of a year or two ago to come back to him? He don't want that either. All he want to do is catch the ball and have better numbers than Odell Beckham. That's all he want to do, Jamal.
I also feel that when someone is on social media, that we do not feel that it is something that should be held against us, what we say. And because of the realm that within the realm that it is, people lie, people say whatever on social media and then expect it shouldn't be held against me. It's not official. Comments like this, when you're interacting with the fans, I am very surprised that it is actually being held as actual comments when it was not part of an actual interview. This is an interaction with fans. He mouthed off, and I'm not even sure that it's actually being taken in context with the rest of what's being said. To me, it looks as though it's just somebody who's just saying whatever. And
okay, we don't know, but every time I post anything on social media, I am well aware of the ramifications of it, whether it can be taken this way or that way, because I just want to be straightforward and let you know, okay? So I don't just say things and type things just on a whim. It's very thought out, okay? And everyone should be that way, because you never know how this stuff can come back to you. Not just because it's the way I do it, but because there's a lot to lose sometimes with the things you say casually, in a business situation, so forth and so on, Jamal.
The second part of what you said is actually on point as well as what you said originally, but the second part of what you said is not how everyone looks at social media. So that's...
Well, he needs to look at it, or otherwise they will forever take whatever they have to say, cut it up in slices, in little bitty pieces, and post it in social media to their own agenda. So let that be a lesson for him. And you ain't got to take up for him, because this is his lesson, not yours, Jamal. So put that in a tweet and send it to him. Jamal.
I'll talk to Des that way. Okay.
All right, let's move on from that. Well, and see, I don't like that I got to take care of my children or my family.
Hey, come on now. Come on,
Kay. Latrell Sprewell said, and what happened to him soon after? Oh, disappeared. Josh Hamilton told the Rangers, "Oh, I don't want a hometown discount," but he went to the Angels, and they sent his butt right back. So maybe people should just stay away from "I gotta feed my family." Obviously, if you're a man, you have a family, you take care of your family, Jamal.
Take it way out of context here. Way out of context.
Whenever I hear that, that's how I take it, because save it. I gotta take care of my family too. You think I go parading it around when I'm making my negotiations on my salary? Hell, they know that.
Speaking of out of context, so I want to talk to you about, what did you think of the actions of Michael Bennett and Marshawn Lynch during the opening of the preseason games for Seattle and Oakland? Both players sitting on the bench during the playing of the national anthem.
Both players with a family they have to take care of, right? Wow. So they're light workers, okay? So they don't go with, we need to stand in line, and they not them. Marshawn's not worried about getting cut, okay? Bennett ain't worried about getting cut, okay? So I have absolutely no problem with that. You know what I'm saying? And it's okay if some don't want to. That's fine. But it's good to know that there are some that will. What do you think, Jamal?
I am still on the fence about the actual method of protest. I do like the protest itself and what it stands for. I'm not a fan of what I feel is almost a grandstanding, and that it is, if it's one individual, I'm not as thrilled as if I see multiple individuals doing it. I honestly would prefer if they just didn't come out of the locker room, and that instead of it being a question of whether or not you're disrespecting the flag and disrespecting the anthem, and thus apparently because you're disrespecting the anthem, you're disrespecting the military, which I still don't understand how that goes together, that you stay in the locker room. Otherwise, if you're on the field, I honestly feel you really need to just go ahead and stand for the anthem. If you do have to protest, or if you are going to protest, don't be out there. Just be in the locker room or in the tunnel and protest from within the tunnel, and your absence will be just as large as it will be if you're not there, but you're not actually physically and visually quote unquote disrespecting the flag. I think it'll draw more attention that way.
Well, I think they want the attention to be drawn. So that's probably why they are out there. But I think I would be with you. If I have a problem with whatever, I think I would just stay in the tunnel until it's time to kick off the ball or whatever happens. So, I mean, but then our president didn't put his hand on his heart when they were, you know. Okay, okay.
We don't have time.
Okay. And moving along, Jamal. What else do we have?
So there was something that bothered me, and it I'm actually going to say it is not specific to Colin Kaepernick as much as it is just why are slaw quarterbacks kept around? And when I say slaw, I just mean weak, and they really and truly have no business in the NFL. We temporarily saw in the case of was it Luke McCowan that he is trying to make he's trying to make the Cowboys squad as a backup, and that his play left a lot to be desired. And you can go throughout the league that there are a number of teams with at best shaky quarterbacks. The Bears quarterbacks situation with Mike Glenn was just oof. Kay, breathe, Kay. Okay, breathe. I won't even talk about Cleveland. I won't say anything about the Jets. But the point is, why do teams go out of their way to keep these bad quarterbacks? I don't understand. Do you have a theory on this, Kay?
I have absolutely no clue. I thought that our backup quarterback was bad until I saw the fourth string quarterback, and it made me change my whole entire mind. So I don't know why they do. I mean, they are what they are, and they're not going to be anything more, okay? They can definitely be less, but they're not going to be more than who they are. So I have no explanation to why this happens. Can you enlighten me, Jamal?
I actually can, and that was why I was asking you, because you are the wise one between the two of us. I do not understand the point of paying somebody who you know isn't going to really truly be able to lead your team up and down the field, much less have them as a backup in case of an emergency. Cooper Rush, I believe, is the gentleman that you're speaking of for the Dallas Cowboys. It was pointed out to me that I need to temper my hopes about Mr. Rush because he's playing against third and fourth stringers, so don't get all excited. But that said, what I felt I saw, especially in terms of our squad, is Kellen Moore, shaky. Luke McCown, never mind. But yeah, so this Cooper Rush that everyone is heralding, I shouldn't say heralding, everyone, Dallas sports writers seem to be calling as the next Tony Romo, or possible next Tony Romo, meaning they plan on him usurping Dak Prescott, who's just in his second year with the team, fresh after leading them to the playoffs the year before, is this Superman who is, who reinvented football. And so I going back to my main point, I don't understand the point of keeping around someone who you know is, why? Why are you taking up a roster spot? So
I agree. I mean, I don't have an answer. Maybe we can bring.
So another point that you may not have an answer to, switching gears, is in the realm of college football. And I had a moment to think about it, and I have this question. It's the question that people have been asking the last 3 to 4 years now. This year, can anyone beat Alabama?
No.
Really? No one? You don't have a Clemson for this year? You're just going to go ahead and crown them?
We're gonna crown them.
Really did a screen.
And we let them off the hook.
You really did a screen. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's it. So, for the most part, I think the games will be interesting. I'll definitely be watching every Saturday. Let's not get that twisted. But it's kind of like the NBA. I mean, we kind of know what's going to happen until it doesn't.
See, I'm gonna need to actually see some games being played first. I am still not sold on Alabama's quarterback, even though now he's a sophomore. I know they have a hell of a running game, but the quarterback last year was he was good enough to win, but he wasn't spectacular. And the defense, as I recall, eventually folded under when playing Clemson after dominating most of the year. That there is the possibility that another... Right now, I want to say Florida State is the team that I'm looking at to usurp Bama's dominance, but I haven't seen their quarterback play. And they... Without a decent quarterback, especially in the ACC, with Louisville and Clemson coming back, and Miami coming up, and even North Carolina... I really feel like your challenger to Bama is going to come from the ACC, but I need to see whom. I won't say anything about the Big Ten. I'm just not impressed. And as much as I love the Big 12, you're shaking your head too. Yeah, no, I don't.
SEC, and the Big Ten. That's it.
The Pac-10 will always come with an interesting challenger up to a certain point, and then they just have this either rivalry loss or just this unexcused loss to a team, and they just knock themselves out. Or when they show up for the big games against the Bamas and so forth, they melt. They look like they should not be on the field. They play real
good for their first quarter, and then it's lights out. So, no, they're not ready.
Absolutely. So I am just not sure what to expect going forward. I still feel, though, that there will be somebody who challenges Bama and that it will be an interesting season. I still say the winner of the national championship comes from the ACC and not the SEC.
I would agree with that. Well, Jamal, this has been a great show. Thank you so much for all your candor. We'll be back on next Wednesday, talking about all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Jamal.
Okay.
Great show.
Thank you very much. Look forward to talking to you later.